Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass.net. So first of all, big news. This coming Monday, December the 10th, I'll finally be releasing the Simple Steps to Walking Bass course. That's 64 lessons over 3 modules spanning a whopping 14 hours of video content. There's also hundreds of pages of lesson material and practice tracks for every exercise in all keys. So that's enough material to feed your practice routine for a long time. So I've had a lot of requests over the past couple of years, in fact, for this particular course, and it's been a whole year in development. I take you through from the absolute basics all the way through to walking through jazz standards and blues tunes in all keys all over the instrument. Today we have a quick preview lesson taken from Module 2 of the course, and that covers walking through progressions that contain 2 chords in a bar. I'll be making a few references to previous lessons in the course, so remember that all of the skills that I mention are covered in detail. You'll learn how to apply chord tones, scales and chromatic notes, and you'll work on targeting chords in order to make that walking journey. So check out the lesson and follow the link in the info below for more details, and enjoy! So far we've only looked at a single chord in each bar of our chord progressions, but it's very common to find 2 chords in a bar, and we need to know how to play through them if we're going to move into some jazz standards. So here we have a standard 1-6-2-5 chord progression, just like the tracks that we've played through in the other lesson, but this time we have 2 chords in each bar. This is the main sequence used in the popular rhythm changes progression, which we'll look at in the next module. So let's first play along with the backing track, and we'll just start with a regular 2 feel. So we'll just play the root note on each of those chords, okay? A 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can move around. Now, to play a true walking line through those chords, 4 notes per bar, we need to add an extra 2 notes in there to join the chords up. So, one easy way is to just add some chord tones in there. So we could just play root 5th patterns, okay? So for each chord, root 5th, root 5th, root 5th, root 5th. And we can ascend a 5th or descend a 5th. So you should be really good with the root 5th pattern now. So now I'll just play through the progression, and I'll just use an assortment of ascending and descending 5ths. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Follow it wherever the line takes you. Okay? We could also use thirds, so for that we would have C to E, A to C, D to F, and G to B. And remember, we can use ascending thirds or descending thirds, depending on whether we want the line to go up or down. So again, I'll just play with the backing track and just mix them up. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Those methods worked fine, but it's actually a lot smoother to think of these as approach notes. Now, it just so happens that with the root movement we've got in this progression, the thirds and the fifths actually sometimes give us approach notes. So from A minor 7 to D7, we've got the A leading up to the D. So if we play the third there, the C, that's an approach note to the D from below, and then the fifth is an approach note from above, C to D or E to D. That's just because it's movement by fourth, the root movement there. But when we play the C to A, the movement by third, it's okay if we play the fifth because that's an approach note to the A, but with the E, not so much. We've got that big jump. So it's actually easier to just think of these, as we're moving from chord to chord, just as approach notes. So we have diatonic approach notes and chromatic approach notes, and this has all been covered in the previous lessons. So if you need any refreshers on that, just go over those lessons. So with the diatonic approach, let's try that through the chords. C major 7 to A minor 7. If we want to diatonically approach from above or below, we could approach with the G to the A or the B down to the A. They're the notes within the scale. So that gives us C, G, A or C, B, A. And that's that nice, smooth scalar movement, okay? So like I said, this is a much smoother line. Then when we move from the A to the D, again, we can either approach from below, C, or the E, which is from above. And like I said, that's just like using the third or the fifth. So D, F, G, D, A, G, then G, B, C, or G, D, C. Okay, so that's our diatonic approaches, okay? So even though it's the same thing, we're seeing it from a different perspective. Instead of thinking of the fifths or the thirds of the previous chord, we're actually looking at the approach to the target chord. So I'll just run through the track again, and first time round I'll use approach from below, and then second time from above. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's diatonic approach, but we can also use chromatic approach. And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting and a little bit more spicy. So all we have to do with the chromatic approach is just approach with the fret, a half step below the target chord. So if we C major 7 to A minor 7, we can approach the A from either the fret below, the G sharp, or the fret above, which is the B flat. Okay, so this sounds a lot more jazzy, okay? So, first time round, I'll just use chromatic approach from below, second time from above. So first of all, let's just play that in isolation. So C, G sharp to the A, C sharp to the D, F sharp to the G, and then B to the C. So that was from the fret below. Then from above, C, B flat down to the A, E flat to the D, A flat to the G, and then D flat to the C. So, I'll just play with the track, and I'll play below first and then above. 1, 2, 3, 4. Above. Okay. So as you can hear there, those chromatic approach notes give us a lot of that jazz chromaticism, and they can help to really, really change the sound of your bass lines. And like I said, it's a lot easier to see them because we're just thinking a fret above or below the next root note. So the key to doing this is to mix them up. You don't always want to use chromatic approach from below or chromatic approach from above. You want to mix it up, and not only mixing up the chromatics, you want to mix up the diatonics as well. So you want to know how these are going to sound. You don't want it to be just random, I'll try chromatic, just randomly. You want to know how it sounds so that it's an expression, okay? So it's a part of your vocabulary. So now I'll just play along with the backing track and I'll mix it all up. I'll use chromatic approach, diatonic approach, above, below, mixing it all up at 150 beats per minute, and really listen out for the difference between the diatonic and chromatic approaches. And I'll be using the diatonic approach as my kind of default go-to, and then adding in the chromatic for a little bit of spice. 1, 2, 3, 4. So start out slow, stick to those diatonics to begin with, then start adding those chromatics in, and then play them through every key at all tempos.